Good afternoon, good morning, and welcome back to Automotive Logistics and Supply Chain Live. We've had a packed afternoon of sessions, so thanks for keeping tuned in. I'm Nimish Ladwell, I'm Production Director here at Automotive Logistics, and this session will focus on the intricate world of packaging and container management. Keeping up with new materials, tracking technology, connectivity, and new product requirements that continue to transform and optimize automotive packaging and container management. We're joined by a great panel of packaging experts who will give us a view into the innovations driving packaging sustainability, tracking, and the need for collaboration that's required to build common standards and processes. So I'm joined today by Jake Goodman, who's Manager Logistics and Packaging at Rivian, Tony Minyon, who's Senior Manager for Packaging and Environmental at Toyota North America, Axel van het Kaar, who's Carline Supervisor, Material Flow and Packaging Engineer at Ford Europe, and also Sanjeev Thakiar, who's Head of Innovation Solutions and Strategic Marketing at CHEP. Thank you, gentlemen, for joining me today. It's great to see you all. You're looking well and looking like you're ready to get into some good topics around packaging. I know we've got some presentations lined up that you've put together for us. So let's kick off with that to begin with. I'd like to let's start with you, Jake. I know you've got an interesting presentation there that's going to be looking at some of the sustainability innovations that you've been running. So thanks very much, Jake, and look forward to hearing what you've been doing.
Sounds good. Thank you, Nimish. Thanks everybody for joining. My name is Jake Goodman, and I'm the packaging manager for Rivian Packaging. At Rivian, the sustainability is at the heart of many of the decisions that we make. We're empowered to find new concepts and ideas and apply them where we can. And one of the really exciting new ideas and concepts we found is the use of ocean-bound plastics in our plastic packaging systems. So to jump right in, what exactly is ocean-bound plastic? So ocean-bound plastic is single-use plastic containers, your water bottles, your food containers, your milk jugs, that are discarded and end up in rivers and waterways, eventually coastlines, and further into the ocean or larger bodies of water. For it to be considered ocean-bound plastic, it has to be collected within 50 kilometers of a coastline. And you'll see this typically happen in developing countries or economies that lack formal waste collection processes. And this is really where the ocean-bound plastic story begins, is because that's where our partners are able to step in and help develop the collection processes and the recycling efforts. How Rivian is utilizing ocean-bound plastic is really, it's been over a year in development, and we've worked on recipes starting with structural foam. So that's your larger bulk bins and your pallet systems, because that recipe was stable, the ratio was working. And I'm excited to say that we've recently been able to adapt that same concept and methodology into our high pressure systems. So that's your totes and your lids and some other high pressure injection molding systems. We're going to try to push as many inbound parts into our plastic returnable systems as we can, trying to come up with new ideas and new designs that utilize plastic so we can further our impact using the ocean-bound plastic material. This is a little kind of a slideshow life cycle journey of a single-use plastic, how it would start its life and hopefully end up in our packaging solutions at the end of its life. Left to right here, you'll see the single-use plastic, how they'd be displayed, obviously full of product at a supermarket. So this would be purchased, then the product would be used, and then from there really starts the life cycle of where we would jump in and try to help with all the partners upstream. So it would be the single-use plastic container would be discarded and unfortunately eventually find its way into these waterways, these streams, these tributaries that find its way to coastline and then into the ocean. And it's these locations that the collection processes are really defined around. So From here, these plastics and material they're manually collected, manually sorted, and bulk packed to get transported to a local processing facility. There's a local processing facility typically within driving distance of these collection sites, these active sites, where then it is further sorted, cleaned, and then flaked. Then from there, they ship the flakes to a couple partners in the States, where it's further refined into a pellet form, which you see in the middle picture. And then from there is when we're able to apply it to our bulk bin and our tote systems. This is a really important slide because it helps further define what ocean-bound plastic is. It's really important to know that this is not a specific beach cleanup or the sum of a few beach cleanups. This really is a grassroots effort in these communities, in these areas, where it incentivizes the collection and proper disposal and actually shows value of this otherwise useless material. Right now, collection is focused in locations with very poor waste infrastructure systems or not developed at all. It helps develop those systems for these communities and really puts them on a good track. Active collection locations right now include Philippines, Haiti, Indonesia, Brazil, and Egypt, and there are many more on the horizon that are being identified. So it's an exciting impact all over the world. This is more of a context slide. So this is how we're going to measure our performance, our impact, making sure we're having the impact that we intend to have. So every 10,000 totes, and we all know that there's various sizes of totes, but taking the average tote, average tear weight, we're able to divert around 8,000 pounds of material. And the big hitter is the bulk bins. So every 10,000 bulk bins diverts around 320,000 pounds of waste from these waterways, from these communities, into our returnable packaging systems. That all said and done, our goal by 2024 is to take 500,000 kilograms or over 1 million pounds of this ocean-bound plastic collected, flaked, pelletized, and converted into our systems out of this area and into our systems. So that's equivalent to around 7 million milk jugs and 83 million bottle caps. In closing, we couldn't be more excited to be one of the first to try to bring this to market and make it a viable solution. Our goal here is to
Thanks very much, Jake. That was a really interesting presentation there about the use of ocean plastics. I think clearly it's a huge issue globally, and great to see that that this is an initiative that's potentially going to help solve a part of the problem, right? I think what we'll do next is move on to the next presentation, and next up I'd like to ask Tony to talk to us a little bit about the work that he's been doing and give us some updates on the collaboration work that he's been doing around RFID and some updates around that. So Tony, if you could join me, and we can start to talk about the work that you've been doing. I think we may be having some. There you go.
Can you see my screen?
We can't see it just yet. Just press the share screen as you did before.
Yeah. Okay, let me know when you can see me.
There we go. Let's pop it into full screen and we're good to go.
All right, let me get rid of that. All right, so thank you for your time. My name, like I said, is Tony Minyon. I've been with Toyota a really long time. I've been 31 years and counting. I've been all over the company, including vehicle logistics, manufacturing, accessories, legal department. Currently residing in the service parts and manufacturing logistics area. So I'm going to talk a little bit about the things we're doing on the packaging side. So to give you an idea of scope, and again, I'm going to go through these slides really quickly, that we have responsibility for service. So these are fenders, hoods, engine blocks, oil filters. We're also responsible for the manufacturing. And so all the manufacturing plants that we have in North America, have responsibility for the packaging. In addition to that, I've got the responsibility for export packaging, and then recently picked up the environmental, which ties in very closely with packaging. Give you a little more idea, we have a little over 1,000 suppliers. On the manufacturing side, we've got 6 cross docks. On the service side, we've got 2 parts centers, 16 parts distribution centers. We service 11 plants in North America, and then in addition to that, I've got 30 global distributors and 41 export plants that we take care of with the packaging. So what are we doing on the packaging? The last year, current Mississippi in give this big to that point in that and commit the RFID on it. Total assets in the network, we're estimating at about 8 million until it's fully tagged. We'll never really know. And asset-wise, it's about $500 million in assets. So it's real important to have something like RFID on it to keep track of where it's. We're launching a new plant. This is going to be a joint venture with Mazda in Huntsville, Alabama. And
Tony, we're just having a few, if you can hear me, Tony, we're just having a few kind of issues there with your connection there for a second there. So maybe we can just.
Hi, Nimish. I think quite a few people are having problems with their internet connection. I just wonder if we can have a chat with the panel, and we'll try and get the slides maybe over to one of your team and shared in a different way. So that would be my suggestion. We'll just get everybody on the screen, have a chat first.
No problem. Let's do that.
Thanks, Nimish.
Hi, everybody. Glad to have you all back. I think we have some kind of technical issues there with the presentation of the slides. So rather than kind of sharing the screens at this stage, maybe we can just have a quick. Let's continue with just covering some of the topics and the updates there, and we'll figure out our end how we can solve that problem, so we can share some of those kind of visuals that you had in mind. So, Tony, I think you were covering some of the kind of the regional aspects there of the regional aspects of how your network is set up, and of course going into some of the kind of RFID program that you have there as well.
That is correct. Can you hear me?
I can hear you perfectly, yeah.
Perfect. Okay, yeah, it looks like we're having a little video problems. So I'm not sure where we got lost in there, but obviously the first thing we're doing this right now is launching the MTM plant, which I mentioned, which is the Mazda Toyota manufacturing. Also to implementing the RFID across our network. But just like was mentioned by Rivian, we're also spending a lot of time looking at things like our CO2 and our waste to landfill, our waste to recycling. And so Toyota has very stringent and very aggressive 2050 environmental action plan goals. We have them broken down into 5-year periods. But what we'll be doing in our next period begins, which is our 7th environmental action plan, begins in April of this coming year, 2021, runs for 5 years. We're looking at converting as many trucks as we can over to alternative fuel. But in addition to that, we're going to be implementing more returnables and more reuse of our packaging material. So those are our main priorities and our large focus points for this coming year, or the coming 5 years.
That's great, thanks. And
Thank you.
this project that you're working on is you also have this RFID collaboration project, right, that you work on with some of the other OEMs there.
That is correct. And yeah, we're using a company called Sugir. We're very happy partnering up very closely with them. Without going into the names, but it's the major players out there in the automotive industry are also part of the consortium, so that we're doing things similar, but we're also doing some best practices between us where it's applicable.
Okay, great. Thank you very much. Well, let's talk to Sanjeev for a moment there, and we can, of course, you can give us a bit of an idea of some of the things that CHEP has been working on. Of course, you're a major player in the market. Be great to hear about some, of course, how things are panning out for you at the moment. But then, of course, you know, how you're then working with your customers there to drive some of these innovations as well.
Yeah, great. Thanks, Nimish. Can you hear me clearly?
Can indeed.
Sound check. Okay. Yeah. Look, I mean, lots of things and lots of common topics as we've seen on the session so far in this conference. But really, at the heart of it is the need to collaborate. I mean, we are now on the verge. Well, we are amidst the EV revolution, and we have a real opportunity now to drive the standardization in terms of packaging and container management. And obviously that is something that is at the heart of our business. But from that standardization, you know, in terms of electric vehicles and setting up those supply chains so that they are resilient, that they are robust, so we save not only cost, but also in terms of sustainability and CO2 output. So we're very, very much now focusing on several areas relating to creating standards for important components like lithium-ion batteries, attaching to that the whole area of digitization, and of course developing tools so that we can work with our customers to actually look at different supply chain management concepts and solutions, including pooling, to see what would be the actual real difference in terms of CO2 output.
Oh, brilliant! That's great. Thank you very much for that, Sanjeev. Let's have a few words from Axel. I know Axel's been, of course, at Ford for some time, and I know you've worked on some kind of lots of innovations there, and of course are keen to kind of work on collaborative measures as well, right?
Yeah, correct. Yeah. So again, thanks for getting me on the panel here. And I've been in the various packaging sessions in the past, yeah, and I mean, most of the takeouts was always I pray really for standardization. Yeah, I mean, we within Ford, yeah, have reached a level of over 90% of our goods packed in standard containers. Yeah, either large or small totes. Yeah, and the remainder obviously is still special packed. Yeah, so but where can we go next? Yeah, as a next level. That's always my idea, because I've been looking prior to this presentation just on the internet at large foldable containers, and there's so many different designs and features and folding doors and all of this on the market. Yeah, but as long as each of us think we have well, the best solution on the market, yeah, we're not trying to collaborate across the OEMs and even including our tier one suppliers, yeah, we will always stay at that level where we are now. Yeah, and I think one element that as obviously CHEP is one of the partners with us on the pooling idea. Yeah, we now have a new pool of large containers, which again was a good design, better repair facilities, easier to repair, easier maintenance, and a higher, let's say, interior volume, although the outer dimensions stayed the same. So that was a good innovation, really, that we've now implemented across the European market. But the next level now is really, again, focusing on track and tracing of these assets, and trying to get this all together. I mean, there's been solutions on the market to track and trace truck movements, and have a live map of where your goods are moving around in Europe. But can you connect these movements as well to the containers itself, so that you know where your assets are? And the next step on top of this is, again, connect then the material inside the container to the whole digital map of what you're tracking. And then you can use all of this available technology that's out there on the market to facilitate automated receiving. Immediately upon truck arrival, scan your goods, have them in your inventory, and know where they are in the warehouse. And it could all be so easy, but the standard is not yet defined on a wider scale, so that we all know where to go to, and what we will finally decide what's the best strategy. And I've been talking on this as well. If our tier one suppliers, get let's say 5 or 6 different types of readers installed by their customers, because they want to track the assets either by RFID, Bluetooth, or 3-dimensional barcodes, or any other method of scanning, it will be impossible to finally develop a network that really gives you 100% visibility. So that's, I think, the major challenge. To get to a common standard. And like we talked before. When you decided, is it Blu-ray or DVD? I mean, once we have a standard there, then we can work together and roll it out. But as long as each of us try to develop their own solutions, then it might work on a lower scale and give you a traceability of whatever 50-60%, but you'll never reach the full visibility.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that's certainly an interesting conversation. I think and the thing is, for me, it's how do you move the dial on that conversation, right? And how do you share, develop those common standards, obviously share best practices and increase that kind of collaboration, right? I mean, we have on this panel, we've of course got Rivian, a startup, and they're kind of linked to Ford as well, right? The Toyota, and then a service provider there. So I'd like to hear your comments on that, and your thoughts on how we might do that as well. So maybe we'll start with Jake. I know we lost you there a little bit at the end of your presentation there, Jake, but it was a great, fascinating to hear about the work you're doing on the sustainability side, and we'll circle back to that for sure.
Sure.
But in terms of kind of collaboration and common standards, what are your thoughts on that?
Sure. I hope you're able to catch a good portion of that presentation. But
we got it all basically. It was just the very last slide. So you're good.
Awesome. Yeah, we're very lucky, as you said. We're a startup. We're developing our department and our standards and things like that. And we want to adapt to this exact idea of collaboration. One thing I think is going to be really important is to stay up to date with whatever technology that is able to be standardized, because RFID will evolve into something else, just like Bluetooth is, like the bandwidths and everything that we're reading these assets off of. We want to make sure that it's, I don't know, a committee type thing, or however we would want to do that, but to stay up to the level of technology where we need to be to continue this. I think it's an amazing idea to have this kind of across OEM collaboration, and we would be very willing to explore how we could further that.
Great, thank you. And Tony, welcome back. I know we lost you for a sec, but glad to have you there. Can you hear us okay? Maybe not. let's see if he comes back in a minute. But Sanjeev, let's hear your thoughts on this. Of course, you're working with a number of OEMs, tier suppliers of huge network of containers around the world. Let's have your thoughts on this, right? What can you do as a partner there?
Well, a lot, and we sit really at the heart of the supply chain network, because we have that collaboration with the tier suppliers, with the OEMs, with the LSPs. So this is where we can really play our part in terms of making that link and having that sort of holistic understanding, and also because we are effectively supply chain experts, we have the knowledge, the really in-depth knowledge, and one of the points I want to get across is when we talk about digitization, there's so many different technologies available to us, and even though the technologies are very important in terms of how we obtain the data, there needs to be equal focus on how we actually convert that data into meaningful insight. And then that drives the right actions. And there's lots of hidden value within our supply chain that can be used with supply chain visibility. So again, it's about collaborating. It's about working with businesses that are really experts in supply chain, such as CHEP, to help establish those real wins.
Yeah, sure. And Axel, you mentioned you were working with the VDA, right? Is that the clearest path to kind of driving those standards and bringing the OEMs and the tier suppliers together? Because ultimately, in this environment as well, right? Everybody's looking at cost as a big issue, right? So clearly, there's a cost benefit to this as well, right?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, if you develop a standard that works for a wider scale of OEMs and tier suppliers, then you have an economy of scale, and you can just say, okay, there's a let's say a design patent that different suppliers can use. Yeah, not saying that we want to go for a single source on the market. Yeah, it's just really defining that standard that suppliers can work to and provide that equipment that we all would need. Yeah, and as you say, within the VDA, yeah, we're having lots of discussions on these across the OEMs and including some tier one suppliers as well, which is important, yeah, because we all come from different angles and we all want kind of the same goal, but we are not there yet. Yeah, and I mean, one good example that worked as well was the development of the wheel pellets. Yeah, I mean, wheels are always round. Yeah, so no matter who builds a vehicle, yeah, the shape of the wheel doesn't change, and we have a standard across Europe. Yeah, and all of us use these standard wheel pellets for the different sizes of wheels with a common steel frame. Yeah, so that works for all of us. Yeah, and that's a good example where it actually worked across the OEMs. Yeah, and we have a common design, common standard that we can just circulate around, and it makes it easy as well for the wheel manufacturers. Yeah, because they know no matter what customer they've got the same packaging equipment that they can use to ship material. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that's this is clearly the pathway to finding that collaboration, right, and making sure that everybody's on the same page. So while I've just had some messages from the team, so we've got an opportunity to allow Sanjeev to run through some of the slides that he had prepared for the session. So
Okay.
Sanjeev, let's
sure.
let's go for it.
Great, thanks. I'll be quick in the interest of time. So hello again, everybody from around the world. So look, just over the next few minutes, I just want to talk about why packaging container management and your choice of solution is such a critical element to your supply chain. Essentially, why is it more than just a box? So if we go to the next slide, please. So as has been discussed, obviously common topic in every session, I think so far, we can't ignore the effects of the pandemic has had on our businesses and our industry. But this has affected the way we think and the way we plan. So risk assessment and mitigation is now a major priority for any business. and specifically on how we can become more resilient and more sustainable in an environment that is becoming increasingly challenging and volatile. So selecting the right packaging solution has an important part to play in making our supply chains more resilient and more sustainable. So next slide, please. So first topic I would like to share with you is the importance of sharing containers facilitated by standardization. I think we all appreciate the value that this can bring to our supply chains, but fundamentally it reduces physical waste, reduces CapEx and OpEx costs for your business, reduces the risk of damage to your product, and finally ensures that the parts are delivered on time and in the right condition, which in turn ensures customers receive the product with the correct quality and protects your reputation. The challenge we face, though, is creating these standards, as this requires a huge level of collaboration, as I mentioned earlier. We have tried as an industry for many years, but largely failed. However, with the onset of this industry revolution, maybe now, and I believe now, is the right time to get this right. Another common topic of this and every other automotive logistics event over the past few years has been around the area of digitization. And as I mentioned earlier, the container really plays a critical part to play, as it is the carrier of the tracking device that provides the data. So as we continue to debate and discuss the right technology to obtain that data, we need to have equal focus on how we convert that data into meaningful insights. And then this drives the right decisions. Supply chains are very complex, and there are lots of hidden value within the network. Implementing a container that is smart can lead us towards a truly robust and risk-free supply chain by using data and insights to change behavior from being reactive to proactive, preventing problems before they occur rather than fixing them after they occur, and making decisions on real accurate information rather than gut feeling. The next area, go slide change, I would like to focus on is around sustainability. So we all face increasing challenges in terms of our own company goals, government legislation to reduce waste and our carbon footprint. And again, your choice of packaging and management solution has a critical part to play in this. Again, the concept of sharing will have a direct impact on eradicating transport miles, empty transport miles, utilizing robust reusable containers with longer lifespans will cut the use of one-way packaging and therefore landfill waste. We at CHEP, as you're hopefully aware, we're extremely passionate about sustainability, and our most recent innovation in this area of development is a life cycle analysis tool that can directly compare different packaging management solutions in terms of CO2 output prior to implementation. And finally, I couldn't finish this short presentation. If you move to the next slide, please. Without mentioning the EV revolution again. We're facing the challenge of meeting regulatory compliance, specifically on the transport of lithium-ion batteries. The explosive nature of these products mean that they are classed as a dangerous good, and the need is therefore to meet the relevant UN standards. This, together with additional local legislative requirements, is adding a large degree of complexity on the design and materials of containers, but also puts an increased focus on your choice of solution. However, the production of EVs is only gathering pace now, and if we act fast, we have a real opportunity to create standardized solutions that will reduce complexity and therefore risk and cost in the battery supply chain. And again, a common topic I've heard in the sessions during this conference, industry collaboration is the key to making this happen. And lastly, as OEMs face the challenge of a complex mixture of production between combustion engine vehicles, hybrids, plug-in hybrids, and fully electric vehicles, to name a few, forecasting demand and therefore packaging investments is becoming increasingly challenging. Layer on top of that the complexity that, as we have seen in other battery-focused sessions, the supply chain is still developing currently with a diverse sourcing strategy that is increasingly going to move from intercontinental movements to more localized movements it does bring into question the rationale of investing in your own container pool when there are specialist service providers and alternative solutions available. So hopefully this has given you some valuable insights into the importance of packaging container solutions. We at CHEP are obviously passionate about all these topics that I've covered over the last couple of minutes, and look forward to answering any questions you have as part of this panel session, but also please do reach out to me using the networking platform. Thank you.
Brilliant, thank you, Sanjeev. That's great. I think there's a couple of key topics there that I think maybe we can have a quick discussion about with the rest of the panel as well. And yeah, of course, circling back to that discussion around sustainability and maybe talking about some of that. Of course, Jake has been involved in this whole oceans plastics project there. So I guess as let's have some comments from Rivian about and Jake about what he's been doing on that side of things as well. It'd be good to hear him some more about that. And also, I think there's also work that Ford has been doing on this as well. So Jake, there was also a couple of questions there that I wanted to kind of put to you as well. So maybe we could just kind of get your views on how you're working on the sustainability side of things. As a startup, you have this opportunity to kind of work from the ground up, right?
Sure. Yep. So kind of just an overall look at how we're handling sustainability. As one of the first points I made in the presentation, it's at the heart of almost every decision we make as a packaging department at an EV company. We're trying to find and foresee potential problems downstream after we launch. So we're looking at all of our use cases for expendable packaging inbound and how we might be able to utilize those as a second life. So we've identified some opportunities there, and we're trying to bring everything into our plant with a purpose after it's utilized, just the same methodology as the ocean-bound plastic. So that's very important. And we're also doing life cycle analysis and greenhouse gas emission warm analysis, making sure that everything that we do implement will make sense to the environment and financially as a company. And there's a lot of different opportunities with developing technologies and things that we're super excited about. A huge gap that dawned on me when Sanjeev was presenting is if we could collaborate, and I know a lot of this conversation is surrounding collaboration. A huge gap that I find or I notice is international returnables, just because it simply doesn't make sense for even the biggest OEM to be going back and forth overseas with returnables. But if there's a pooling operation or something that we could do utilizing a company like, say, CHEP, that we could all, like American OEMs could pool containers and share them back and forth with the European or APAC suppliers, I think that would be a pretty powerful statement or program that would really help. Can't hear you.
I think Tony is back with us as well, right? So let's have Tony join us. Thank you, Tony. I know you had some problem with your internet, but I'd love to hear your comments there. I know you've of course been doing some work there on and of course your new role there, or part of your new role there is of course environmental as well. So what are you doing, and what are some of the highlights for you in terms of how we can move the dial on some of these conversations as well?
Yeah, thank you, and good to be back. To add on what Jake was talking about, we're actually working with our parent company in Japan, and we're looking to implement returnables for export movement. So what we're actually going to be doing is we're going to be taking the product that they send to us in metal totes, and then we'll be using that and rebuilding those totes with export manufacturing parts back to Japan. Actually, I have another video conference with Japan later on tonight, but we're looking at doing it. It's not easy, and it takes a lot of coordination. but we have an imbalance. So currently it comes from Japan. We remove the product, we use it, we break it down, and we send it back. Well, now we're going to fill those things back up and send them back. So that's something that's in the works right now. Something else I wanted to talk about briefly is we do a lot of bumpers. We sell a ton of bumpers, and nobody wants to get their bumper replaced to find out that the one that we sold them has a scuff in it. So in the old days, we used to ship them in a box, a cardboard box. It was possibly recyclable, but it was pretty much going to landfill. And for quality reasons, we switched it over to a bubble wrap. And just like the bubble wrap that you get from Amazon, that kind of stuff. And it worked out really well. And we saw damage decrease. But the problem was that stuff either was recycled or went to landfill. We're actually upgrading that type of packaging right now. We're going to a heavier duty, not a single use. And we're creating a round trip. So it would go from manufacturing to a dealership to be repaired. And then we'll send it back, clean it, fold it, and reuse it. And not only is it going to be an overall cost savings, but environmentally, we're not generating all this plastic that has to be either recycled or trashed. So we've got a lot of things, a lot of burners going right now, a lot of great ideas, but we'll see how it goes.
That's a cool idea.
Yeah, that's great, right? And I think let's also bring Axel and Sanjeev back here as well, because I know, Axel, you've of course been doing a lot of work in terms of recycling as well, right? So I remember coming to see you when you were talking to me very excitedly about that as well, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, just wanted to grab on that point about cross-ocean shipments and durables. Yeah, we already have those in place for a handful of commodities. Yeah, we piloted this as well, and it's really that kind of taxi service using a pool. Yeah, so we get that container filled with material, empty it at the point of destination, and then it's collected again by the pool provider and used to ship material back for another customer. Yeah, and that works excellently. And I don't have the number in my head how many tons of cardboard we've eliminated by doing this. Yeah, but it was a route from South Africa into Europe. Yeah, and so significant saving of cardboard and a real good project there. And we still look for opportunities to convert other commodities that come from long distance into that durable ocean container design box. Yes, that we can just use. And I mean, the other sustainability that you mentioned, Nimish, was another idea that we've now implemented as well, which is a reusable tray. Yeah, it's basically a one-way tray that's once it has arrived and empty, it will just be ground down to the raw material. So the compressed, let's say, return shipment is really high density and saves you a lot of return transport, and then it's made fresh again and recycles about 80% of the material, which is another real good avoidance of having to use one-way cardboard inserts. Yeah, and instead we have those trays in place that even do not need an outer packaging. Yeah, they are stackable on their own. Yeah, and so that eliminates a lot of waste as well. Yeah, and I mean, there's various initiatives that we are looking at here to really optimize packaging, avoid all of the landfill and waste. Yeah, and obviously we just need to quantify it at some point in time. Yeah, to report the success on this. Yeah, as I'd really like to state the numbers of tons of material of waste that we've already avoided by doing this. Yeah, but these projects really are on a business case by business case equation. Yeah, it's not the savior of doing all commodities in the same type. Yeah, but there is potential. Yeah, to roll these trays out further to other commodities.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, it's been fabulous to hear about the innovations you're working on. Some key elements there around of course building standards, driving more of the sustainability around this. We are unfortunately kind of running out of time. I know we had some kind of technical difficulties. I'd certainly like to continue this conversation with us and others as well, and bring you back. And of course, to have another session with you guys where we can get into this. And so we'll follow up with you on that. Certainly, we have some more opportunities to do that with you. Apologies again for the technical issues. Beyond our control, as we know in this world, we have to deal with these anomalies that happen to us. But I'd like to thank you all for taking the time to share your insights and for joining the conference and for joining this session. I look forward to working with you more and helping to bring these more of these topics to light.
Awesome. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks.
All right, thank you.
Thanks.